Hey friends, so this month, October, we're looking at our commitment to the practice of faults and affirmations. And this video is primarily for those in the novitiate stage and beyond in the order of the common life. But if you have found your way into the community of the common life, you are absolutely welcome to engage with us here in the comments below, or to start some conversation around this. And these monthly videos are our way of working through our rule of life over the course of a year. And friends, listen, I know that God is working in you in a variety of ways. I mean, I have had the privilege of sitting with many of you over just the past couple of weeks, hearing about your experiences in the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius. And many of you are in the process of transitioning and leaning into some sort of course of study during this next season of your novitiate experience, trying to pay deeper attention to the work that God is doing in you. So as I offer these monthly videos, I'm always really aware that I'm sort of inserting myself into your spiritual life. Like, I'm asking you to take some time to reflect on something that you might not presently be thinking about. It might not just be on your radar. I'm asking you to think through something, to pray through something that might actually not be right at the surface for you. But the work that we're doing together is always bringing us back to the reality that we can sow good things into the soil of our lives really consistently. We can sort of keep bringing our attention back to the same things over and over again. Like, you might be focused in your prayer or in your practices on something entirely different than what we're talking about this particular month. That's totally fine. And there is something really powerful about the fact that for the next 30 or so days, there will be people scattered pretty broadly throughout the world at this point that will be focused on the same kinds of practices, leaning into the work of cultivating and nurturing the work of God in their life in a particular area. And this month, we're looking at our commitment to the practice of faults and affirmations. So if you want a little historic contextualization of this practice, I'd encourage you to go back and watch last year's video, October 2021. That's always there for you, where we focused a little bit on the intentional noticing of our faults. Like, we talked about confession and about the important role that the practice of confession has played in the life of the church. But here's what I want to do this month. This month, I want us to focus on the affirmation of others. And I will start actually with a little bit of a confession on this. I would say that one of the most sort of intractable patterns of sin and brokenness for me is that I can more easily spot something that is wrong, something that isn't working, or some deficiency in either myself or in somebody else, than I can spot the good things. Like, it's really easy for me to see things in me or in others that aren't going well. And listen, before I go too hard on myself, or before you begin to commiserate with me on this, I want to actually point out that this is actually true of basically everyone. We're actually hardwired neurologically to focus more on the negative than we are the positive. There's a theory called the Velcro and Teflon theory, and it basically says that negative experiences and negative information, they stick to us like Velcro. And positive experiences, they stick to us like Teflon. So Velcro is really sticky and Teflon is really slippery. If you have an egg pan, it's probably made of Teflon. Maybe you've had some example or an experience like this when you have been praying the prayer of examen, for example. And the main thing that stands out to you about your day or about your week is the hard stuff. This is actually one of the reasons why it's really good to practice the prayer of examen. We intentionally use a prayer, like a prayer of examen, to focus our attention on the good things, the graces and the joy, the things that are going well. And when we do this, the prayer of examen sort of trains our hearts and our mind in the other direction that our neurology wants to go and flow in. So this Velcro and Teflon theory is a theory that really comes out of an evolutionary model, which I think actually makes a ton of sense. This idea that our brains have been hardwired to scan for danger and negative information. But it doesn't just show up in reference to ourselves. Like, it shows up most often, I think, in relationship to others. Like, we can really easily gravitate to the things in others that don't seem to be going okay, or maybe the things in our relationship with others that don't seem to be going okay. And because of this, even the way that our brains seem to be wired, we tend to gravitate towards criticism and blaming and faulting others. And then when that happens, our blame or our criticism, even when we don't necessarily say them out loud, it has a tendency to sort of leak out sideways. Like, I don't know if this happens to you, but this is certainly how it works with me. This is one of the patterns of brokenness in my life. This is one of the things that I'm asking God to slowly heal in me. And so our negative communication towards others is going to stick to others like Velcro. And whatever affirmations that we speak to others, well, they're going to tend to slide off like Teflon. And so what this means is that in order for us to be a community of healing and formation with others, be it your marriage or your family or your roommates or people in your church community, maybe a small group, in order for our presence to contribute to the encouragement of others, we really need to be intentional about encouragement and affirmation of the good that we see in others. It has to be kind of in our memory and in the forefront of our lives. What it means to cultivate communities of formation and love is to really take some degree of responsibility to see the good in others, to name it and to call it out, and to consider how to spur one another along towards love and good deeds, as the writer of Hebrews says. And if I'm taking on some degree of intentionality and responsibility to name the good in others, to speak to others of the good things in them that I can see that God is doing in them, what I'm also then implicitly doing is I'm entrusting that it's others who will see the good in me. And both of these practices, naming out loud the good that we see in others and entrusting that others will become the people in our life that are able to see and to name the good that they see in us, the good that God is working in us, these two practices both really train us towards humility. Like, to lift somebody else up and to entrust our lifting up into the hands of others. This is both training us towards humility. And the training in humility is right down the middle for our formational journey in the monastic tradition. So friends, really simply, here's what I'd love for us to lean into this month. I want to ask you to think about the people who are close to you, who are in your life on a pretty regular basis, and to be really intentional about affirming them, naming what you see as God's work in them, noticing, for example, when they love well, or when they display courage, or when they're working in partnership with the work of God, some level of naming what is happening that is good. And if you're married, do this with your spouse. If you have kids, find a way to do this with your kids. If you have roommates, take some time to be intentional, to notice and to point out to them the things in them that are true and right and pure and holy. As the Apostle Paul closes out his letter to the Philippians, this is how he says it. He says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, or if there's anything that is excellent or worthy of praise, like, these are the things that you should be thinking about. So friends, this is how I would love for us to spend the next month, leaning into the practice of faults and affirmations. I look forward to hearing how the conversation goes within your community formation group. I'd love for you to sort of collect some stories, maybe reflect on what this does in you as you turn your attention to focus on the affirmation of others in the next month. Okay, much love and grace to you.